friends. Welcome to episode number 336 of the Anxiety Guy podcast. I'm Dennis Simsek. Thanks for joining me. This podcast episode is brought to you by my main website, theanxietyguy.com. Head over to theanxietyguy.com today and learn more about the #1 anxiety recovery programs, read a couple blog posts, and catch up on previous podcast episodes at theanxietyguy.com. Warriors, today's podcast is about rebound anxiety and how to deal with the after effects of exposure. Okay, there were a few people in our Facebook support group that asked me to do a podcast episode on this or looking for information on this. And I want to respond because I understand what it feels like when you have, in fact, exposed yourself to something that creates a heightened level of anxiety and stress in the body and in the mind, and coming through it at the end with a sense of accomplishment, but also these lingering feelings and ideas. So I want to explore this a little bit today so that when you go about your exposure work, you'll also be prepared for the after effects. All right? Understand that change, exposure, the unfamiliar, all of these make us work harder emotionally and energetically. Okay? And so we have to take into account how much energy we are putting in. First of all, how much energy we have to put in to our exposure work. Okay. Now, when I'm saying exposure work, I'm talking about environments that feel unfamiliar and strange to you. I'm talking about surrounding yourself with people that you may not be comfortable with. I'm talking about these experiences that make you step out of your comfort zone. Okay. If you're seeing a therapist right now or a CBT specialist, this will be one of the important factors that they believe will contribute to your healing. So we're talking about exposure here. So you have to take into account that change, any kind of change, okay, any kind of exposure, anything that feels unfamiliar makes us work harder. Okay, we are using up a lot more resources because let me tell you something. Your anxiety symptoms, many of the anxiety symptoms are there to protect you from exposing yourself out there again. Take, for instance, the feeling of dizziness, okay? Dizziness is a very consistent symptom when it comes to anxiety disorders. And so we have to understand that from an inner child or subconscious mind perspective, the dizziness seems to be some kind of a chemical protective response. In order for you to stay within your comfort zones, not put yourself out there again, therefore you won't have to feel so overwhelmed like you did before. Many people that experience dizziness no longer experience panic attacks or anxiety attacks, but have a lingering sense of anxiety in the background, right? So you can see how the dizziness coming from this protective system within us is actually doing its job, just like other symptoms, okay? So this is why when we approach our symptoms, we have to begin understanding that it's a relationship building process. We're building a new relationship with our symptoms, therefore our bodies, therefore our inner childs. And this is where freedom lies. There is a physical energy to us, along with a life force or spirit energy to us. The physical side is related to feeling, while the spirit side is more so connected to source. Now, both get depleted as we feel physically tired and disconnected while experiencing rebound anxiety. Okay, so we have to take into account that this vital life force, this different kind of energy, is also taking a beating when we consistently expose ourselves Now, one of the things that I had to do back in the day, because I was so physically depleted and spiritually depleted, was I had to take more time away from work. Okay, I had to step aside from certain people and certain plans that I was making on a daily basis in order for me to find clarity around what I was suffering from. Okay, there should be no guilt when it comes to taking time away from people or experiences when it comes to your own overall health. Okay, because to be honest with you, anxiety sufferers expose themselves every day. Okay, I mean, even when you go to work, even when you're driving, I mean, everything is an exposure session, is it not? And so some environments make us feel slightly more sensitized than other environments. But in the end, we have to understand that, anxiety sufferers want nothing more than to feel normal again, right? Functional, normal, and not have to deal with so many of the things internally that they're dealing with. So understand that there are these two different types of energies within you, the physical and the spiritual or life force energy, that both get depleted the more you put yourself out there. Now, let's also take into consideration that putting yourself out there doesn't just mean exposing yourself physically. Putting yourself out there also means starting to believe in new ideas. That's exposure. It means verbalizing your truth, right? For example, you're sitting with somebody and normally you're very suppressive. Normally you're very quiet and you keep to yourself. But this time you're actually verbalizing things that you're feeling are true for you, right? So this is as well an exposure experience. All of these things use up energy, okay? And if you're not giving back to yourself in different types of ways, self-care ways, then the exposure work will really take a toll on you, right? A very, very deep toll on you, as it did for me. I mean, it would be days before I ever wanted to expose myself to something that was unfamiliar again after I had already done it. It was like this feeling of, oh my God, I did this. But at the same time, it said, my body wasn't ready. My mind wasn't ready. Emotionally, I wasn't ready to do this again, right? So it goes two ways. Now, things that were once easy become very challenging during anxiety. And I want you to understand that it's okay for it to be this way during this stage in your healing. It's okay to feel down sometimes. It's okay to feel challenged sometimes. It's okay for whatever needs to come into your life right now to come into your life. Understand that. We've placed tremendous value into overanalyzing each situation, that we've made things so much harder than they need to be for us. The value on overanalyzing each situation. And of course, we are exposing ourselves, yes, but to many emotionally neutral people, the exposure work that we're doing is nothing to them, right? It's nothing to them. To them, it's a piece of cake, but to us, it's a huge challenge, a challenge that we want to overcome. But understand that these challenges, soon enough, will no longer feel like challenges, because you can get yourself to a place where the value that you've placed on things that contribute to your anxiety have lesser value. During my anxiety days, I said I need to overanalyze everything for the sake of keeping control over my life, and for the sake of keeping things the same, for the sake of the certainty that I need to feel in my life. Okay? And it didn't have to be that way, and it doesn't have to be that way for you. Okay? So now we're talking a little bit about the roots of anxiety. Okay? We're talking about how you got to a place where you overanalyze each situation, right? prior to, during, and after. Understand that when your life feels, not is, big difference, when your life feels like it's falling apart, you are becoming your true self again. That's very, very powerful and important to understand, because at a perceptual level, you will feel like your life is falling apart, when in fact, this universe and source energy are simply aligning the world with your new belief systems. That's all. That's all that's happening. So, a career loss, a relationship loss, whatever it may be, a loss of some sort, could be the very sign or signal that your life is actually turning around and you're moving towards this place we call inner peace. But diving back into rebound anxiety, there's a few keys that I want you to consider. Number one is, after you accomplish something, after you set forth with some kind of exposure and you do it, you need to feel a sense of accomplishment. You need to feel that sense of accomplishment, okay? Because maybe your mom or dad or your authority figure, your coach back in the day, whatever it was, told you that, hey, you must never feel accomplished because you haven't done enough. You haven't accomplished enough to feel this way. Okay, so maybe that perfectionist side is still living within you. So when you do expose yourself and you do something that you feel like, oh my God, that's a big win for me. Like, I really did that today. You need to allow yourself to stay in that space for a longer period of time, because this will break down the walls of perfectionism. This will break down the walls of fear. Okay, staying in this place of accomplishment. You do truly deserve it, and starting today, you can live by your own rules. Okay, you don't have to live by the rules that your body is making up, because your body is a reflection of your inner child. Your inner child is a reflection of your old core beliefs. The second point is that you need to understand that this new you is a lifestyle, and you're not simply trying new things, okay? Exposure work, yes, right now feels like a massive challenge to you, but as you're going about it, the mindset must be that this is nothing. This is a simple experience that I'm going to learn from and grow from, and that's all it is. This is a life experience, okay? So when you expose yourself, just make sure that you understand that, these places that you're visiting, these changes that you're making, this is a lifestyle. You're not trying things, because when you try things, you only revert back to what's been familiar, because familiarity equals safety. Okay? This is a lifestyle. So approach it in that way. And then make sure that you're drinking enough water, because this point, a lot of people kind of jump over. Okay? Dehydration has a massive effect on anxiety levels, has a massive effect on our perceptions, on our feeling states. Okay? So just make sure that, I would say 3 liters a day of good water, right? And if you're active and you're sporty and you're experiencing more anxiety, you need to drink more water. This is a big, big part of the healing process, okay? The next point is, I want you to learn from the experience, okay? But analyze it less. There's a difference between analyzing an experience and learning from it. Okay, let's say you expose yourself. Ask yourself, what lessons can I take from what I did? Okay, instead of going, oh my God, did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? How are those people going to react next time? I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. Was this really bad for me? Was it good for me? No, forget that. Okay, that's become habitual. Okay, that's become a pattern. Okay, these are patterns that we're going to start breaking together. Okay, this is very, very important. Breaking patterns. We have to break patterns before we can build new ones. Okay, so yes, you can learn from the experience and what it taught you. Okay, but stay away from analyzing as much as you possibly can. Okay? In closing, understand that rebound anxiety is quite normal, right? Especially in the beginning stages when There's a lot of change going on, and you're starting to understand your anxiety a little bit better. Okay? So don't fight with it. Allow it to be there. Be compassionate towards it and learn from these experiences. Okay? Because health anxiety, generalized anxiety, panic disorder, whatever it may be, demands that you learn lessons. It demands that you grow into the person that you're meant to be, right? This experience that you're having is nothing more than a learning experience, okay? But we don't want to be jumping from one type of anxiety to another. And in order for that not to happen, we have to get ourselves to a place of inner peace. And in order to do that, we have to start building relationships over again, okay? That means with other people from our past. That means with our bodies. That means with our unconscious minds. That means with our coworkers. That means with our environments. That means with the trees around us. That means with the rain. We must begin building better relationships with all of these things if in fact we want to heal. I hope this podcast episode helped you. Thank you so very much for allowing me to be a part of your healing journey. If you know someone out there or a group that's suffering from anxiety, please go ahead and share this podcast with them. I'm sure we can help many, many people out there together. Remember that you are more than anxiety. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
The most powerful anxiety guidebooks on true anxiety recovery are now available on Amazon. Pick up Beyond Anxiety and F Coping, Start Healing, and supercharge your healing journey today. Also visit www.theanxietyguy.com to connect with Dennis and find the right online program for you. Remember, you are more than anxiety. See you in the next podcast episode.